Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Waz and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to all listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube with each show segment available. Head on over, and if you like what you hear, we would appreciate your subscription. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? It's the beer, it's the drink, it's the wisdom. Let's do it.
Let's talk some sports, baby.
In episode 69, we evaluate decisions made on the NFL fifth-year options and continue our NFL draft coverage with the AFC and NFC South divisions. But we begin with episodes 5 and 6 of The Last Dance. Sunday's pair delved deep into a host of topics from the 1998 All-Star Game that featured Kobe Bryant and MJ. It also took you inside the Olympic Dream Team, Jordan's altering of basketball shoe history, and more. So what'd you think about the episodes, Drink?
Oh, well, I took away a number of reactions from it. Kobe was a very pleasant surprise, but I will say in my reactions, I stayed away from Kobe appearances. I did like seeing them, but I left them where I seen them. I didn't want to drown up anything else out of that. So with that said, first thing I want to talk about is the self-awareness. We seen the self-awareness for business from Michael Jordan, where he was putting business before the politics. We seen what he did with the Olympics. But what I think the bigger issue was what he did when they had I think it was either a mayor's campaign or a governor campaign in the state of North Carolina.
The Senate race.
Senate, okay, there we go, Senate. And you had a new black candidate run against the white incumbent at the time. A guy he seemed a bit open to racism. I mean, I listened to what he said. I wasn't alive and I wasn't active during the time this happened. So his comments didn't necessarily make me cringe, but I didn't like him as much as, I should. So with that said, Michael Jordan got a lot of backlash. He got a lot of backlash because he didn't come out publicly and support the black candidate. Michael did say, hey, I did support the guy behind private doors, but, listen, I don't know what this guy about. And I think this was a very key thing through all this. Michael said, I don't know what this guy about. You want me to attach my wagon to his horse, and I don't even know what he's about. I'm not doing it. Just because he's black, I'm not doing it. So Michael Jordan was pretty self-aware to know that if I just hitch my name to anybody's campaign, they could be part of anything, and then that drags me down in the late run. So, he was self-aware. But then he made the comment, Republicans buy sneakers too. All right, well, that's not a lie. I mean, probably not the most popular thing to say, but that wasn't a lie either. I'm pretty sure it was a lot of Republicans that was wearing the shoes. So he said that. Then he said, and he was very candid with this when he said it. He said, listen, I'm a ball player. I'm not an activist. I'm not trying to be an activist. I stay in my lane. I am here to entertain in the game of basketball. I'm very good at playing basketball. That is what I stick to. I ain't got a problem with that. I think we as a society now, we kind of want these players to be more than what they actually are. Everybody got to stand up for our rights. Listen, Muhammad Ali is Muhammad Ali. The GOAT, when it comes to this, Muhammad Ali was built for that. He was built to be an athlete. He was built to be an activist. He was built for everything that he did. Everyone don't have to be Muhammad Ali. That's just the point blank. But you know what I'm saying? You got Muhammad Ali. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you got O.J. Simpson. So it is what it is. You can't hold everybody up to that standard, but then kind of overlook the standard that O.J. Simpson laid down. So I like what Jordan said. Jordan said, listen, I'm a ball player. I'm not an activist. And he carried himself like that. Now I would say this. With that said, that is one of the stark differences between MJ and LeBron. This is why LeBron, when you keep it just on the court, LeBron ain't messing with MJ as far as being the GOAT. But when you incorporate everything else inside, all the stuff off the court, into being the GOAT in basketball, this is where LeBron kind of closes the gap between himself and Michael Jordan. Because the on-court accolades is something serious. We're seeing it right now. It is what it is. But LeBron, he embraces moments like this, and he gives his opportunity. I mean, he gives his opinion on these opportunities, whether right or wrong, he gives it. And he's unapologetic about it. Whereas Michael, he liked to play the middle. He liked to play the safe route. He was Switzerland. He was in the middle. He was neutral. And I guess, like the guy said in the documentary, that's why you could be popular for so long if you play the middle role. So if you don't really piss anyone off, how can anyone hate you? So, maybe it was a strategy by Michael. I don't know, but I did see how he put business before politics. And at that time, that was something new. You didn't have players doing that. Like now, every third player that comes into money, whether it's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, whatever the case might be, everybody's activists. Everybody want to be heard. Everybody want to be said. But back during those times, that wasn't a thing. And also, we heard Charles Barkley. I heard him say this on I want to say the Colin Cowherd show the day after. He said no one in the league was making controversial comments about stuff like that. No one. Not me, not Magic, not Larry, not Isaiah. None of those guys that were stars during that time did that. They're just something they didn't do during their time of playing. But Michael is the one that get beat up for it because he's the most popular. And that race, that Senate race was happening in North Carolina. But, hey, Charles Barkley was very candid. No one did it. So it is what it is. But either way, that's another debate for another day. Now, my second takeaway was when Jordan said, I don't have a gambling problem, I have a competition problem. Says every gambler-holic I ever seen in my life. No gambler has a gambling problem. If you find one that say they do, hey, kudos to them, send them to rehab, keep it going, you know what I'm saying, God bless you. But most gamblers don't got a gambling problem. Now, in the sake of Jordan did have a competition problem. That's not to sneeze at that. He definitely did have a competition problem. But, hey, man, like, once he laid down what actually happened, hey, I got back to the room at 12. I didn't stay out overnight. Me and my family went to AC, wanted to get out the city. We just lost the game. I wanted to decompress. All that good stuff. I hear all that. But I'm telling you, it seemed like every third frame they showed of Michael, he was gambling in some form or fashion. I forgot the name of the game. They trying to see who can get the closest to the wall with the quarters. Then they cut frame to the bus. They over there gambling. Then they cut frame to the next store where John Paxson was like, hey, we over here playing for dollars. And here come Mike. Yo, I just want your money in my pocket. So, I mean, the dude he did gamble at a high level. Now, that didn't affect him financially. That didn't affect his game. That didn't affect his brand. And whatever the case might be. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you don't have a problem. That just means you're fortunate and blessed enough where it doesn't affect the big picture. But you might still have a problem. But like I said, it didn't affect the big picture, so it was what it was. But when I heard that, I couldn't stop laughing. I laughed I laughed my ass off when I heard that. I got a competition problem, not a gambling problem. Oh, okay, I guess they playing basketball in the MGM Grand too, huh? So I thought that was funny. And then, like I just said, the man was competitive to a fault. All right, he was willing to ruin a small percentage of his image and his likeness just to beat everybody at everything. Like it wasn't evidently it was not a competition that he met that he did not feel the need to be competitive about. It was anything like, hey, Mike, I'm gonna get here at 3:30. I'll be here at 3:25. Like, are we competing? Yeah, I bet you I get here before you. Around Mike, he go to sleep there. So I thought that was outrageous, his competitiveness. And also, listen, while we're talking about the competitiveness of Michael, I want to give a shout out to some of the people that took L's on these two episodes. Tony Kukoc, Clyde Drexler, and Dan Marley. Hey, listen, you was my top 3 candidates for taking the L's. Y'all took those classic L's in these. Listen, Tony Kukoc, I thought he was going to cry while he was giving the confessional. They hurt his feelings. I'm going to tell you right now, that first game in the Olympics, they hurt his feelings. And what was funny was they cut to him walking off, and he had on an Air Jordan sweatsuit as Al Jordan and Scottie Pippen is giving him the business. I was like, yeah, that had to suck. And Clyde Drexler, you want to compare yourself to the GOAT, and you got that GOAT work. So I guess at that moment, that's probably when Clyde Drexler realized it's levels to this. I'm not quite up to the top level right here. And then poor Dan Marley, you know, he was supposed to be a defensive savant, and he got the business just because Jared Cross. He didn't even do nothing. Like, he was like, I ain't even say nothing bad about you guys. And George just gave him that work just because he was associated with Jared Cross. So that takeaway I thought was hilarious. And then for me personally, I liked the segment where they was talking about the commercial collab with Michael Jordan and Spike Lee, Mars Blackman, as he called himself, in the commercial. And the reason why was because during that time, I was very, very young, but during that time, Michael Jordan was he was like the biggest athlete in the world. You had Spike Lee, that was the biggest, at least the biggest black director. I don't know how big he was in the whole scheme, but I know in the black community or whatnot, he was the biggest black director of all the movies that he was doing. So both of these guys was on top of their game. Nike seen this. Nike made, you know, the commercial, jammed them both together. It gotta be the shoes. It gotta be the shoes. It's the shoes. It gotta be the shoes. You know, so slap that. And like I said, I thought that was a black symbol for the black populace to see two guys of their ilk, of their status, of where they were at the time, being in a very, very publicized commercial. That was a movement forward for the, you know, the black community, I thought, at the time. So I did like to see that being incorporated into the documentary, because it was something to be easily looked over, but I'm glad they caught it. And I'm glad they put that in there. And, you know, before I roll out, I want to give a special shout out to John Paxson for coming up once again, big again in the finals versus the Suns. Hey, I'm noticing a trend here. Oh, John Paxson, he got a thing for these game winners. So for everybody that like to give LeBron a hard time because Ray Allen hit a game winner, go back and look at John Paxson, because he making it happen out here. Yeah, he coming up on the biggest stages. So want to give him a shout out as well.
Yeah, a lot of different angles you can look at these two episodes. I just want to respond real quick to a couple points you made. I think it's all a matter of preference when you look at, you know, social activism and then athletes. During this time period, it was just not a thing that was regularly engaged in when you look at these guys. You mentioned it wasn't just Michael Jordan. You didn't hear Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, any of these other guys making political statements. And then so, I mean, Michael Jordan was just another guy who just played basketball. That's what he looked at himself as being, an athlete. And, you know, if we're being quite honest here, that would be my preference personally. When I tune in to watch these guys, it's for basketball. If I want to listen to politics, I'll turn on the news. And that's just where I'm at with that. So, you know, when you look at the totality of Michael Jordan's career, and, you know, some of the more controversial things that you're pointing to, you know, the quote, Republicans buy sneakers too, and then, you know, I stayed out gambling late one night. You know, if those are really the only two things, you know, we're nitpicking at here, and of course there's one other thing I'm overlooking on purpose. But, you know, by and large, there's not a whole lot. There's very few chinks in the armor, if any. You know, we're nitpicking here. But that's another point too. I think there's a perception here when you talk about LeBron and Michael Jordan, that Michael was just glorified throughout his entire career, and that was just evaded criticism throughout. And what we're seeing here, if we're paying attention, is that wasn't always the case. From early on in his career, before the championships started to come, there was the nickname of the Bulls to, you know, the Jordan-airs, because it was just Michael Jordan and the basketball and a bunch of dudes just standing around. And then even after the championships started to come, Sam Smith's book, The Jordan Rules, chronicled some of the, you know, the flaws or the not so great things that were going on. You know, we're punching people, you know, not a great relationship with teammates. And then you see the media, you know, that jumped all over him after the gambling thing in Atlantic City, after the Bulls went down 2-0 against the Knicks. So I just want to point that out, because I think there's an unfair perception that the media is only critical today of LeBron. We're seeing throughout this documentary, there was some media there was some media criticism that was thrown Jordan's way throughout this time period. And some may make the case that that was a reason that he retired the first time around, in addition to going to play baseball as his father wanted him to.
Now, to cut you off a little bit. Now, would you say that, okay, so I agree with you. Jordan did meet some scrutiny from the media after playing almost 10 years. And then once he started meeting the scrutiny, he had to take a break and recompress himself. So do you think that's still on the same level of the level of scrutiny that LeBron gets today?
No, I'm not comparing the two. I'm just pointing out the thing. I think there's a perception out there that Jordan never got criticized at all, and he was just a water walker and all these things. And I'm just saying that is not the case. I think if we actually delve into who gets criticized more, it's probably LeBron. I wouldn't dispute you on that point. It is probably LeBron. I just wanted to point out the fact that MJ throughout this period did receive his fair share of criticism. And I think it's fair to say, we talk about Kevin Durant being a little sensitive. I think Michael Jordan here is a little sensitive in some of these things. Yeah. So I just want to make that point. And there's the Dream Team story was very interesting, the Isaiah Thomas point. And I think that's another thing Michael takes some heat on. A lot of people think he was the reason that Isaiah Thomas was left off this team. I think Michael may have been part of it, but the people on the documentary make a great point. Michael was not the only person that had a problem with Isaiah Thomas. And to a further extent, the Pistons, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson both had their run-ins with him. And their style of play that reverberated throughout the NBA, they weren't popular people for the way they played. So I don't think it's fair to just levy all of that at Michael. And I'm glad other people made the point that, look, other guys in this league, they didn't like the Pistons either. It wasn't just the Bulls.
Yeah, and Charles Barkley, to his credit, he said something about it also on the Colin Cowherd show. He said, listen, they're right. Like, it was other people on that team that had a problem with Isaiah. Jordan was the scapegoat, and he didn't say anything. He just let it happen.
Right. And then not to go ahead and beat this dead horse, but I wrote – this was among the first things I wrote down when putting my thoughts on paper about these two episodes. Michael's competitive edge, you talk about just the least little thing that he used to his advantage competitively to drive him to just destroy people. The media in the finals against the Blazers had put up a narrative that put Michael and Clyde Drexler on the same playing field, kind of. And he destroyed that quick, fast, in a hurry, just coming out there and just raining threes to the point where he's doing the famous, like, I don't know, man, just I'm good at this. And then Jerry Krause, it's no secret. Like, there was a real disdain for Jerry Krause. Oh, he out there looking at this dude in Europe, like, while we're still actively winning, we're just beginning to win. And we got Jerry over here flopping around with this European dude. Oh, we're going to give it to him. And it wasn't just Michael. Scottie Pippen made it a point to, I'm going to put this dude on lockdown. And I don't think there's no blame to Tony Kukoc. I feel a little bad for him because it's not his fault. It's not his fault that this guy's got an interest in him coming over and playing in the NBA. And, hey, to his credit, even though they still got smoke check, he put a pretty good account of himself in that gold medal game. I just want to give Tony Kukoc a little credit on that.
And one of the crazy things about that, what you just said, is think about what they said. They said Michael Jordan shot 4 threes by halftime, and that was the NBA Finals record. I mean,
games changed, huh?
Well, the game came a long way. You go out there and shoot 4 threes, you might get cut. Like, it came a long way.
And then another Jerry Krause was the aforementioned Dan Marley. Yeah, Dan, he's he's a solid defender. We go put him on you. And poor guy, just no chance. You're not doing anything with this. And then the league said Charles Barkley's an MVP. Okay, you got that one. All right, well, I'll get the Finals MVP. Holla at me on that one.
Yeah, you can have that.
Yeah. But yeah, and then the last point. Throughout this period, Magic won 2 in a row. Isaiah won 2 in a row. The three-peat was a real separator, and you could tell it meant a lot. It meant a lot to the Bulls. It meant a lot to Michael Jordan, and they got it done.
Yeah, I really enjoyed these episodes. I had no idea they were going to open with Kobe in the 5th episode. I wasn't really prepared for that. That's one of the first things you see, and you're like, oh, Oh God, that's right. Oh, but yeah, that '98 All-Star game. Wow, that was a stacked. I mean, I know they're all stacked. It's an All-Star game, but I mean, you just look around at some of the dudes. You're just like, man, that was a boy. That
That's
was
back.
a bunch
That's
of
back when. That's back when people actually cared about the All Star game and like
right.
put in actual effort.
Yeah, and actually, because they talk about a lot of the achievements. Like, yeah, he won the
Wait.
All-Star MVP, and it's like nowadays we're like, okay, yeah. But back
You see
then,
the way those boys
you're
were
right.
defending?
Did you hear the coach Larry Bird before the game? He said, "Well, hey, hell, we might as well win the thing since
Hey,
we're here."
Dirk is out here, might as well. I like that. Yeah, but I liked, Kobe had that section where he was talking about the 1v1 versus MJ stuff. I've always liked when they address those kind of questions. It's something you hear all the time. Who was better, Michael or Kobe, or who would win in a one-on-one, LeBron or this dude? I like his kind of real smart answer to that question. He was like, hey, a lot of him is how I was built. That's what I built myself off of. And I think Kobe is the closest thing we've seen to Michael Jordan since the year 2000, like since kind of Kobe took over. Because like LeBron, in terms of talent, yeah, I mean, Drink, you were talking about a little bit too, but in terms of like mentality and how they attack the game and how focused they are and that competitive edge, like you were talking about, Jay, like I don't think we've seen that of any person besides Kobe. So I liked that they got him into this documentary. To talk a little bit about it. I think it was definitely
and yeah. One point, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
You can tell the mindset and the difference between LeBron and Michael. When Ahmad Rashad during the '92 Dream Team asked Michael the question, "Hey, who takes the last shot?" Me. What dumb question.
What are you talking about?
We know Kobe would feel the same way about that question.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, not so much. LeBron is all about making the right basketball play. And that's why I would align him more to Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. When you compare their actual games, it's Kobe and Michael. They got similar games. Magic and LeBron similar games. But also this note, Michael and Drink said this. It's interesting. The Suns series closed out because Michael gave the ball up. He gave it up to Scotty, who threw it over to Horace Grant, and John Paxson closed out that series. So even though their mindsets are different, in moments that counted, they deviated from who they were.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've seen that in the series so far. So yeah, you're absolutely right in that regard. Yeah, the 5 threes over Drexler and crew, man, that was. I mean, like nowadays, 5 threes and a half, or even in a quarter would just be like, why is that? Why are you telling me? Why is that news? I mean, of course they made 5 threes. Like what else are they gonna do? But back then, that was a statement of statements. I mean, even look at the shooting percentages and the amount of threes he made in that whole series, and like just how they shot threes back then. That was nothing like what we've seen now. So that was definitely cool. Tony Kukoc, how good would he be today? Like if you actually put him in the modern NBA, like I know things kind of didn't really work out, but like that's the kind of stuff they fall in love with nowadays, right? Those 6'10" dudes that can move like they do, like he was and whatnot. Like just in a little bit you got to see of him, I was thinking, man, he might have been pretty good today.
It's kind of a overused term today, but doesn't he seem like the perfect stretch 4?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like he kind of a little bit of Ben Simmons in him, but he could shoot, unlike Simmons, I guess. I don't know. Just that kind of like size and speed combination you just don't see a lot of dudes have. I thought he would just something to come to mind, but yeah, I mean, again, that competitive stuff you were talking about, where he was talking about wearing the original Jordans versus the Knicks, and how his feet were literally bleeding at halftime, and he was like, "Well, I'm having a good game. I'm keeping them on." I mean, who would do that today? I mean, no one would do that today in the NBA. I mean, I can't imagine a single player just be like, "Oh, my feet hurt. I'm going to the locker room."
If they did, they'd be on load management for a week.
Right. Yeah. You get put mud on that, but yeah. And the final thought I had really was the whole politics thing. I think y'all are pretty much spot on with it. I think one of the things we overlook is that not everybody just really gets into politics. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm just not political at all," and it's like, yeah, okay, well, everyone is to a degree, but like you said, when you step into that arena, especially when you're talking about a senator or a president, I mean, it's one thing to be an activist socially, say, like LeBron builds the school he built recently. That's just a good social thing, community outreach, things like that. When you get into that side of politics, the actual, I'm no kidding, going behind a senator or a congressman or a president, you're traversing a different territory. And while it's fine, I mean, I don't care if sports figures do it. You are making a bit of a business decision. Even we've seen it nowadays. I mean, you take Kaepernick or any other example. I mean, there are things that come along with it, and Jordan just simply say, I'm not really I'm not getting into this, and that I could see as committed and as focused he was at times. I could see him just not having a lot of time to dabble in politics. I could see him just being like, man, this ain't worth my time.
It's a risk. There's a reason, and I'm sure you guys have heard this throughout life. There's certain like things you don't talk about at work.
Yeah,
for
religion
reasons.
and politics.
Politics is one of them because these are things that people are very passionate about.
Mhm.
And when you come out and support one side or the other, you risk the fact of alienating people. That's a real thing. You can look around the country today, and we know this is true.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, and this happened to LeBron, like what you just said, Cody, about making the decision, and then you got to live with the results. This happened to LeBron. He publicly supported Hillary Clinton. She lost. They tied that loss to LeBron. Like, stay out of politics. You tied your horse to the wrong wagon, and now look at you.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's a little silly. I mean, I wouldn't care. I don't care personally, but I know people do. So I can understand Jordan making that business decision. But I thought it was cool that he left President Obama's comments there, because we know he has full control over this, right? He has total control over this whole thing, and that he kind of let kind of the disappointing comments from the president towards him in regards to what we were talking about. That he just kind of let that ride. I thought it was cool because he could have just not had that in there. He could have just controlled the narrative and just took it out. But he decided to kind of let it ride. So.
I agree with that. I didn't feel like the comments was like that bad. I felt like, to me, as me and my wife was watching it, I just felt like what he said is like, if Michael Jordan could have said that himself, he would have said that. Like, he dressed it up in a real good politic way that I didn't think it was sounded so bad on Michael Jordan's behalf.
It didn't sound terrible what the President Obama said. It didn't sound terrible at all. But this is also, I think, another difference between Michael and LeBron. Michael's very comfortable with himself and what he's accomplished. He knows his greatness. Like, nothing anybody can say is going to detract from what he's accomplished. Yeah. I think LeBron, and this is just something we've known about and we've discussed, LeBron likes to control the narrative. There's that thing that I think we've seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah, episodes 7 and 8 coming up this Sunday. Looking forward to it.